Terminator Genisys is successful in killing the Terminator franchise. Terminator Genisys is the fifth movie in the Terminator franchise, which was started by two incredible movies directed by James Cameron, Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So then we get Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines directed by Michael Bay, which was terrible. And Terminator 4 Salvation, directed by, of all people, Mick G. And both of those movies were horrible. So, to reinvigorate the franchise and to celebrate the return of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who played the Terminator in the first three movies, we get Alan Taylor to direct Terminator Genisys, the man who directed Thor: The Dark World. And this movie, maybe it's better than Rise of the Machines and Genisys, but it's still a bad movie. The plot of this movie has a little bit of the plot from the first Terminator and some of the plot from the second Terminator, as well as some elements of Terminator 3 and Terminator 4. The plot, as you know, Skynet, the artificial intelligence that creates the machines that the Resistance, led by John Connor, are fighting against, sends a Terminator back in time, back to 1984, which looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It is sent back in time to kill Sarah Connor, the mother of John Connor, who was the leader of Resistance. So John Connor sends one of his soldiers back in time to protect Sarah Connor, Kyle Reese. John Connor in this movie is played by Jason Clarke from Dawn of the Apes, sends Kyle Reese, played by Jai Courtney from A Terrible Day to Die Hard. Why that actor? Why? And we see Sarah Connor, played by Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, who's a very talented actress, but nowhere near as good at playing this role as Linda Hamilton did. When Kyle Reese gets to 1984, he finds out that Sarah Connor is already being protected by a much older Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator who has destroyed the original 1984 Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator. He also finds out that Sarah Connor is not the woman she expects. She's already tough, she's already trained in military combat, and she already knows about Skynet, Terminators, and everything. So much of his job is done for him. Their main mission now is to try to stop Skynet, as well as stop this T-1000 liquid metal Terminator that's in 1984, before they go and stop Skynet. But when they get to the date where Skynet comes online, they find out that there is another Terminator sent back by Skynet to try to stop them. And that is pretty much our movie. And what a convoluted mess of a movie we have. One of the reasons why the first two movies were so excellent is the fact that the plots were simple. Even though it involves time travel, the plots were very simple. This movie is so convoluted and so confusing, it is very hard to follow, and it's just, what the heck? Let's get into the positives of this movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger. It is great to have Arnold Schwarzenegger back as the Terminator. I really liked seeing him in this movie. It's one of the things that was missing from Terminator 4 Salvation. To try to fill that hole in Terminator Salvation, they gave us a Terminator, a T-8100 with Arnold Schwarzenegger's face digitally over it, and that looked so bad. And it's just great to have Arnold Schwarzenegger back as a Terminator, and the fight he has with his younger self, his 1984 self, is actually pretty good. I did like that. I did like B. Young Hun Lee as the T-1000, though he's not in the movie that much. J.K. Simmons shows up in the third act of the movie. He's pretty good. Some of the things that the T-1000 does is pretty cool. But then there are the many negatives of this movie. The special effects with the T-1000 is not as good as the special effects were in Terminator 2, mostly because this movie's relying a lot on CGI. James Cameron, when he did the first two Terminators, not only did he have digital effects for Judgment Day, he had practical effects. He used models for the T-1000 as well as CGI. He didn't just use CGI. That's why the T-1000 looks so real in Terminator 2. It doesn't look that real in some of the scenes in Genisys. It feels so fake. Let's get to the biggest negatives in this movie, especially Jai Courtney as Kyle Reese, who was originally played by Michael Biehn. Michael Biehn played this role so tough, so hardened. You felt that he was a soldier, and he felt that he has post-traumatic stress coming back from this apocalypse, and that he's trying to protect Sarah Connor and everything. And you actually felt that he loved her. Kyle Reese, I don't feel that emotion from him. I don't feel that he's a soldier. He's so whiny in this movie, and he is nothing like the Kyle Reese that I know from Terminator 1. Then there's Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor. She is a very talented actress. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I can tell by how much she's trying to be Sarah Connor that she's a very talented actress. But she just comes off like Sarah Connor's tough kid sister, and maybe one of the reasons why she comes off that way is because she's actually shorter than Linda Hamilton when she did the two movies. And it's just not as good as Linda Hamilton. And I know that these standards are very high because these two roles were created by such great actors, but if you can't be as good as those two actors, if you can't even get the romantic chemistry right, then what the heck? Why was Jai Courtney even casted? Maybe Emilia Clarke could have done better with a different Kyle Reese. I don't know. When I saw Looper with Emily Blunt doing a Sarah Connor-like role, I thought that she would make a great Sarah Connor if they did Terminator 1 again. And that's what they should have gotten. They should have gotten Emily Blunt, considering the fact that she did a role similar to that. Maybe Carl Urban as Kyle Reese or Joe Egerton. I don't know. Anybody tougher and a better actor than Jai Courtney. He's almost as bad as Hayden Christensen was as Anakin Skywalker. The action, some of it is rehashed from the first two movies, like the scene where Sarah Connor is shooting bullets off against the T-1000 in Terminator 2. Emilia Clarke does a similar scene to that, to the new Terminator, when they're trying to stop Skynet from coming online, and it just comes off as being redundant and being reused. It doesn't have the same awesomeness as when you see it in Terminator Judgment Day. Or when you hear that this movie is so famous for, "Come with me if you want to live," "I'll be back," "Get out." These phrases, I think all three of them are said in this movie, and I know that "I'll be back" and "Come with me if you want to live" are said, and they just don't have the same weight and meaning that they had in the other movies. This movie is just so bad. And it's PG-13. How dare you make a PG-13 Terminator? The first two Terminators, one of the reasons why they're so good is because they're rated R. That's the only way you get really good hardcore action a lot of times, is when you make a movie rated R. And it's not as good if you make it PG-13. This is just not a good movie. I'm going to give this movie a D. I would like to give it an F, but because of the positives, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm going to give it a D. But don't see this movie. It is so bad, and I'm so angry about it.